New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Welcome to Ministers Talking a weekly program where Rev Briz and Rev Elzia and their guests chat about current affairs, world events, spiritual principles, and any old they want to talk about. Based on the New Thought philosophy and ancient wisdoms, Ministers Talking shares a visionary perspective of the evolving spiral called spiritual living. Join us each week as we explore the emerging paradigm of life on planet Earth and beyond.
And hello again, dear ones. Reverend Dr. Briz with you over here.
Rev Z right here.
And this is Ministers Talking Shit for September 15th, 2023. It's 7 o'clock on the Mountain Time Zone. Thanks for being up early and being with us. Or if you're watching it another time, thanks for clicking the play button. We appreciate that. Please do remember to like, share, subscribe. Let your friends and family know what we're doing out here today. So, speaking of days, it's a good day, sir.
Yes, it is. It is a very good day. I am. We're getting some rain here in Colorado to I don't know, start the fall season. I heard that there was some snow, like 1 or 2 inches of snow, up in the mountains, and so it creates this refreshing atmosphere for us to begin to change our gears, look at life a little differently, and begin to make make a run for the winter time, if you will.
Exactly. I always it's my own thing, but when the cold snap happens and the kids are back in school, I remind myself it's time to buckle down and bust out some work before the holiday season gets here, because then nothing gets done. Yeah. So we got about 2.5 good months of work before the holiday season gets here and sends everything snafu-y.
Most definitely.
It's also a very good day, folks. I want to share some great news. Our dear Reverend Elzia has been named to the Iliff School of Theology's Board of Trustees. Now, if you're not aware of the Iliff School of Theology, it's a pretty big deal here in Colorado, part of the Denver University system, and a very well-respected theological school. To be named as a trustee is a big thing, and especially as a Muslim religious scientist. So, big congratulations, Rev Z.
Yes, thank you. I'm really excited to dig in. I mean, they really have some great stuff that they're looking at doing and trying to create a curriculum that kind of works for all, right? Even though it's a Christian university under the United Methodist Church, they're very progressive in my mind of how we begin to try to create this world. Not try, but actually do it, where we can live together, work together, and solve problems together at not only at an academic level, but at a grassroots level of how this stuff gets implemented in everyday life. So I'm really excited and looking forward to digging in and hopefully having some good news to share with our audiences and some opportunities for people to get involved.
Yes. Amen there. People, opportunities for people to get involved. That's what we like hearing that. So good. So there's our good news segment for the day. Now on to our what the type of segment for the day. If you haven't heard, Hunter Biden. Now, if you haven't heard the name Hunter Biden and the word laptop in one sentence in the last few years, you just don't have ears to hear. But recently, Hunter Biden had a plea deal in front of. He's up on tax evasion and gun possession charges in federal court. There was a plea deal that supposedly had been brokered, but the judge didn't accept it. And yesterday, Hunter was found guilty on 3 different federal felony charges of gun possession. Z, tell us, I think you read a little more on this story than I did. Tell us what this means.
Yeah. So they haven't convicted him yet. They indicted him on some federal charges of purchasing and having possession of a firearm while under the influence of narcotics, or a narcotics user, and I think the maximum sentence that he could be facing on this charge is like 20 years in prison if they try to go for the max, and that's a long time. Under any circumstances, half of that is a long time to be incarcerated. And it's I'm waiting to get more news. I'm stumbling here a little bit because it's an interesting situation, given that our past president has 4 indictments with 100, almost 200 charges in that, in like 4 indictments, and not to belittle any crime or being just about it, but it seems like it's a tit for tat kind of thing. Now, they're saying he had a sweetheart deal and he's going to get it, and they didn't do the tax thing, and that hasn't even come up yet. But the challenge for me is not just this. It's a product of the rich, if you will, in this society, or a better way of saying that, the idea of what money can do to uphold or tear down justice. Right. And one of the biggest problems we're having in this whole country is equity and justice. That's why we have these DEI and DEIBs and DEIBJs forming all over the country to begin to figure out how do we get to a level playing ground as best we can, given the history and where we are now, so that we can work together. And this is going to be an interesting case to follow. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. From the outset, it looks like a great case study in white privilege, entitlement, and the political class.
Yes.
Because I'm sure somewhere along the line, the words, "Do you know who my father is?" came out of that man's mouth. All right. At some point along, and maybe, as a younger man, but as an adult, I'm pretty sure he felt he was playing above the rules. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens, because I'm pretty sure if a black man was indicted on 3 federal gun felonies, he'd be going away for a long, long time. Colin Powell was brought up on gun charges. Don't matter. He'd go away for a long, long time. So not that I want to see anybody subjected to incarceration in that degree. However, at a certain point, we also have to be able to hold people accountable to federal law.
Yeah, because you won't. I mean, you'll never get a populace, if you will, that is somewhat supportive or in alignment with the government if there are clear and blatant miscarriage of justice, where you can, and we have plenty of that already just by looking at drug charges. 2 people, same kind of crime, 1 black, 1 white. The charge or the sentence is almost always 2 times whatever it is for the white person, and so it begins to cloud everything. And then, but you telling me you want me to sacrifice and go do this and go do that for the government, but I can't even get a fair trial, or expect to get a fair trial in basic situations. There was something the other day, I don't know, and I forget what city, and it'll be around for a minute. A young lady, person of color, I think she was a black woman, I'm not sure, I know she was a person of color, got hit by a police car and died. They have video cam of another cop with his, camera on, talking and recording. I don't know if he knew it was on or not. He was making jokes about the thing.
I just saw this headline starting to creep into my feed. Yeah.
And I'm like, are you kidding me? And I'm supposed to trust you to uphold public trust and safety when you think it's a joke that a young lady, and she was young, 23 or something like that, from what I remember, is gone. And you're just saying, just pay your family and be done with it. I'm like, really? Is that what we do now?
Right. No regard for human life.
None. And he's supposed to protect and uphold.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I I don't want to go down that road.
No.
For a moment, I want to stay on white privilege and politics, because we have another Colorado's infamous Congresswoman from the 3rd District, Lauren Boebert, is at it again, folks. I've said on this program and others, I've considered moving to Colorado's 3rd District just so I can vote against this woman. Well, recently she was ejected from a theater performance here in Colorado at the very famous and glorious Buell Theater for vaping. So I don't know how you sit in a theater and think you're going to get away with vaping. Like, oh, I'm going to blow it up my sleeve or something. I don't know. But the security footage is gold, as you can see her accosting the ushers. You can pretty much hear her saying, "Do you know who I am?" over and over again. And she berates the employees that are there to escort her out of the theater for vaping and creating a nuisance. They always throw that in, right? And creating a nuisance.
Yeah, right.
It just feels like, for a moment, I want to talk about politics, because it feels like we are starting to witness the implosion of the far right MAGA movement and the Republican Party. Kevin McCarthy announced that rather than go through normal procedures of voting on impeachment articles against President Biden, that he is just going to file them. And they're just going to go ahead with this. And other members of the Republican Party are starting to push back. It's now into a verbal boxing, jousting match, as far as they say they're going to come after his speakership, and he's saying, bring it on. So we're about to see a big, huge fight within the Republican Party. And it feels to me, part of that Nero fiddled while Rome burned kind of thing. We're facing a government shutdown. And I heard somebody the other day say, well, let us go ahead, shut it down. Other governments have survived. Other countries have survived without a central government for time. And I think it was Greece didn't have for a few years. And so I think we are looking at the implosion of the Republican Party. And one more on all this before I give it to you. Mitt Romney came out yesterday and announced that he would not be running for re-election in the Senate, and pretty much called out both parties, saying it's time for younger leadership.
Yeah.
And pretty much called out Trump and Biden to say, you guys are both too old. Get your ass out of the public spotlight. Let's let somebody younger with some innovative ideas get in there. And my mind went, Marianne. Somebody say her name, please. Somebody, come on, say her name. But I think her views are a little too liberal for me. So
yeah, well, I think one of one of the problems and the challenges that we face in our political arena right now is it is pure entertainment, right? in my mind. And I won't say 100%, but I'll still go as far as saying 80%, right?
Because the writers are on strike.
Oh my God. It appears that, these individuals have captured they may have had great intentions going into the job. But when they're working on their 5th and 6th term, right, they're now stuffing their pockets in a lot of cases, not all cases. And I'm not even insinuating that they shouldn't get paid, but they are not. That it appears that they are more interested in getting sound bites and notoriety and these type of things, as opposed to governing the people,
right?
And setting up policies and programs and channels for the community to work together. We understand, most people understand, that you need two sides, right? If I'm sitting down trying to resolve an issue, I need to know both and when I'm looking at what caused the problem, So I can't just look down one side. So we know that.
Right.
But there's a way to do it so that it's for lack of a better word, humane. Goodness gracious, some of this stuff just seems to be crazy. And I don't know how we stop it. Now, getting some younger people in will definitely give us some new innovative ideas. But for sure, the older politicians, I think, I agree that it's time to figure out a way, like at a university, they have the emeritus. Some of these senators and congressmen should become senator emeritus, and your job is only to listen and try to shed some true wisdom on the situation and not get caught up in the fodder. I mean, because a baby boomer's environment of mental stimulus, if you will, what they reference, their context and everything, is 100% different from these young people today.
Yeah. Well, when Nancy Pelosi at age 84 announces she's running again in 2024 for the House, I mean, she's older than some of the furniture in that place at this point. And it's not about, for me, it's not ageism, because, yeah, okay, however, you're operating under a paradigm that has known nothing but privilege for decades. You have no clue what the people in the streets are really going through. And we've become less of a representative democracy for the people than we have been for corporations. And to me, that's just trickle down economics all over again. And we know that experiment failed. So yes, we're doing it again. We're putting all of our politicians are representing big companies, assuming that impacts the people. But as we're about to see in Detroit, supporting big companies and supporting people might be very, very different. Auto workers in Detroit today striking 3 different automakers. We used to call them Ford, Chevy, and GM. Now it's Ford, somebody else, and somebody else, because they've all been bought up by foreign companies. But ultimately, we're going to see a major disruption in the auto production market here in the U.S. because it looks like they're at an impasse. The union is asking for what seems to be some pretty crazy demands, things that I don't know any company could weather, and the companies aren't budging.
Yeah,
just yet.
It's the auto workers union. If I got it right, they're asking for 40% increase in pay plus benefits, which means they're really asking for 50% increase, because benefits gets counted in your total package, right?
Right.
And we all know that cars are expensive and the companies are making money. So that's the nature of being in business, right? Is to make money. But it is to, at the same time, to be fair and equitable to your workers. But when you ask for a 50% increase, now I don't know a 40%, we'll just stick with the money paid, not the benefits. I don't know if that's over time. It has to be, over the next 10 years or 5 years or whatever, we need our salary to increase 40. All right. But to think about that is interesting, given two facts. One, EVs are on the rise.
Yep.
Right. And we know a lot of the EVs are going to be built by robots and AI, which is going to reduce. Right. And gas prices, like right now, the average gas price across the country is $3.89 or $3.86. And in about 12 states, one of them being Colorado, the average is $4 or higher, which is like 16% higher than it was last year. So now, again, when we start looking at this economic model, people are going to start, if I had a chance now to buy a new car, don't know if I'd quite go EV, but I would definitely go hybrid with plug-in and gas to kind of head, because I think the gas is going down. They don't have enough support infrastructure for the EVs yet. But it's going to be interesting. And the EVs now, I think I saw the other day, there's a Cadillac EV, 450 miles on a charge.
Wow. Right on.
So we got some interesting times.
I might be experiencing a little difficulties here on my side. So if I freeze up, folks, please forgive me here. So no, I'm with you. It's a really unique time, because I would love to get into the EV plug-in hybrid side of the world, but they're really difficult to take on a long road trip.
Mm-hmm.
Really difficult to take more than a few, that 450. Now, infrastructure is being built. I just saw a electric charging station pop up at the parking lot of my local supermarket.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly enough, about every time I go by, there's a big old diesel truck parked in one of those spots. I think they're doing that just to be, contrarians. So infrastructure is being built, but I think we're going to run into the same concern. All in 5 years, we're going to be talking about the price of a kilowatt or the price of a battery charge.
Yes.
And I've seen some promising stories on battery technology as well recently, that that's going to be a big part of it, is how we increase the capacity of our batteries to be able to make those 450 miles on a charge or more.
And of course, every situation creates its own unique challenges, right? So now, one of the things that's been there for a while, but now it's popping up as we look for bigger battery capacities, is lithium. How, the mining of lithium, it's a rare mineral. How do we mine it, and where do we mine it? And are we going to have humane conditions for the people who have to mine it? And it's going to be interesting to see if we learn, as we develop these new technologies and these new approaches to kind of counteract some of the bad behavior that we as humans have inflicted on this planet. Do we repeat those things again by not we get too headlong into making it available and not look at the consequences, and we're interested more in profits than we are balancing the activities? Going to be interesting.
And following in that with the news, scientists are speculating on what could be the world's largest lithium deposit, found right here in the U.S. in northern Nevada and southern Oregon. An ancient volcano caldera is reported to hold the largest lithium deposit found yet. And I'm thinking to myself, well, there goes Black Rock City. The burners are going to need to find a new place to be. I don't know if geographically it's the exact same area, but But if we start another gold rush, as some are calling this, for lithium, Nevada's not real big on regulation when it comes to mining. And they're going to look at it like, yeah, go ahead, go rip up the desert. What the hell? We'll get rid of the weirdos and the freaks and just go rip up the desert. It's a very tenuous time. Again, very interesting time. And I think, for us in New Thought, we love the idea of new ways of doing things. We're steeped in that, okay, what comes next and how do we leave the old behind and how do we get away from the shackles of big oil and all that. But big lithium could become just as much of a concern if we're not careful and pay attention to this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And because, and I get it, we got to make changes. I mean, just definitely want to take a pause right here and send a prayer and raise the awareness of the situation over in Libya, where it is reported that over 11,000 people have been killed, and they're still counting due to a flood on the Mediterranean coast due to a hurricane, tropical storm type event that broke 2 dams. And they're still counting bodies over in Morocco from an earthquake, and all of this stuff is connected, right? And so we understand that there's some challenges on the planet in that way, and what we're contributing, and so now we're trying to get some EVs and those kinds of things. And I don't know how well the two sides, if you will, are talking about what the effects are. How do we work together? Where's the sweet spot? It's right now I think we have a 2030. They're saying by 2030, we should have tons of EVs and a whole lot of activity in that way. That's 7 years away. That's a short time, but it's a lot. It's a lot to cover in 7 years.
Yeah. Very much
carbon negatives.
Exactly. Hey, folks, if you're still with us or wondering what you found yourself listening to here today, this is the Ministers Talking Shit. Happens every Friday morning. Please drop a comment. Let us know you're with us. Share a like, share a subscription. I'm trying to pull up a map here to see exactly where the McDermott caldera is. This is where they have found this large lithium deposit, and trying to get an idea of exactly where this deposit might be on the map. However, I definitely am experiencing a little bit of slowdown here today on my system. So what you got going on for the weekend, Z? Anything fun?
Well, you had to ask me that. Yeah, I'm ready for you. I'm going to be fully immersed in CSU football. Another big, big rivalry for the CU Buffs. And this is an interstate rivalry. And so the coaches have already exchanged words and Coach Prime, just like he said last week with Nebraska, he said it's personal now. I think the coach at CSU said, something about Prime having his hat and shades on when he was doing an interview or something. And the guy says, Jay Norville, I think his name is, the coach. He says, well, my mama taught me to take my glasses and hat off and stuff. And I'm like, oh boy, here we go. Somebody imposing their particular upbringing on somebody else, saying that mine is right and yours is wrong. And so that does make it personal. And
if there's one thing I've learned in my life, you don't talk about a black man's mama. Period. I don't care what it is. You unless she is amazing and beautiful, you got the best mama in the world. Unless it's that, you just don't do it. That's stupid.
Yeah.
You're just asking for trouble.
And here's the challenge. There are two black guys or black coaches. And in the African American culture, the black culture, when you start doing that, you step into a world that we call playing the dozens, and that can get really, really intense if we start playing the dozen. And
Exactly.
so that's kind of like what we've stepped into on this football field come tomorrow night around 8:00 Mountain Time. And I would, I don't know who's going to win. I have my favorites. I'll keep it to myself, but it should be a good game to watch what happens when football gets personal.
I think there might be an awful lot of gnashing of teeth and wailing happening in churches all across Colorado come Sunday morning.
Yes.
It's
going to be interesting. But yeah, other than that, man, like we said, we got this fall weather coming in, so I'm going to kind of absorb it a little bit. It's a little wet here in Colorado right now. So like you said, it creates a great environment for work and study and setting some intentions about life, myself, how to interact with the community, and let's see if we can make something happen.
Exactly. So there it is, folks. It's a good weekend to get introspective. It's a good weekend to get yourself to church. It's a good weekend for football. And yeah, I'm the one saying that. So, and I got I keep saying, I got a kid at CU Boulder, so I'm not allowed to say anything other than Sco Buffs. I think the t-shirt's being delivered later today. Sco Buffs. It's the way to be. So. Folks, you're watching Ministers Talking Shit. This happens every Friday morning. We don't pretend to solve the problems and the concerns happening, and we like to bring light to what's happening in the world because these things are important. Mm-hmm. Politics is important. The future of our energy supply is important. The future of our transportation is important. And I flash back all the time, to not pay attention to these conversations is really to give away our freedom, to give away our power, to abdicate our voice to someone else. And as we keep stating, we are less and less a representative democracy of the people as we are a representative democracy of the corporations. So as people, we've got to be willing to get involved. We're not going to tell you who to vote for. We're not going to tell you who not to vote for. We're going to tell you to vote. We're going to tell you to look within and use your spiritual practices. Use your power of discernment. Use your meditation practice to consider what policies and which politicians are going to best represent your perspective, your view of the world, and not necessarily the money changers, as it were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If we want this world to change, as they used to say, you got to be in it to win it. So that means you can't sit on the sideline and only point fingers. You can point fingers, but you're not going to get a whole lot of results. But if you're going to point fingers, you got to get involved too to help make the changes and help other than point out the problem, also try to help solve the problem.
Also help. Yep, exactly. Be in it to win it. There it is. All right. Well, we're going to get out of here then for today. Let you get into your morning. Now, remember, we do have a full day of broadcasting here on New Thought Media Network coming up in just about 10 minutes from now. Be Your Own Hero with Sekou Wrights. 8:15 is the morning prayer. 8:30 is the morning sip with Rev Melissa. 9 o'clock. Practicing daily spiritual practices in Spanish with Emma Moreno and company. Then at 9:30, it's Spanish language prayer time, a 15-minute prayer program in Spanish with a whole team of Spanish speakers from mostly across Mexico and South America. It's a beautiful group of folks. Later today, 10 a.m., Practicing Infinite Possibilities with Lindsay Lineback. The Joy Show with Reverend Barbara Jean at 1. I'll be back at 5 with the good news, and Reverend Michael Mangus has the fireside at 6 o'clock tonight. We wrap it all up at 8:15 with our evening prayers as well, and all kinds of fun tomorrow. Also, Reverend Mark Gilbert is on the Science of Mind and Spirit Conversation Series tomorrow morning. I promise you that's going to be a great program. That's tomorrow at 9. So, Thanks for being with us. We're going to get out of here for now, but until next time, we want to make sure that we wish you peace and richest blessings. Bye now.
And thanks for listening to this week's episode of Ministers Talking. We'll be back again next week with more commentary on current affairs, world events, and any other our ministers want to talk about. And if you found value here, please share our with your friends. Until next time, peace and blessings.